In Zelda's Hyrule Historia, Shigeru Miyamoto says, quote, "We named the protagonist Link because he connects people together." From this, I imagine, derives the popular idea that Link is a reference to the connection between the player and the virtual world. But the original concept for The Legend of Zelda had it taking place in both the past and future, where Link would, well, be the link between the two, collecting pieces of the Triforce, which were actually electronic chips. Though development shifted the game's focus from sci-fi to fantasy, the protagonist's name stuck, and the rest is revisionist history. While not present until much later in the series, the concept of time travel in Zelda is as old as the franchise itself, and the series has relied on it in many ways over the years. One reason Zelda leans on time travel is because, mechanically, it makes for interesting, versatile puzzles. Ocarina of Time was the first to introduce such a mechanic, famously remixing A Link to the Past Dark World by introducing an alternate world in time, as opposed to space, specifically 7 years in the future, and the stark differences between the two times is narratively satisfying. Much of the young Link aspects of the game weren't introduced until later in development, so many of the time-related puzzles fall short. We can plant beans that grow in the future, complete an Epona side quest, learn a song from a guy who we've yet to teach the song to, and complete the Spirit Temple. These mechanics were perhaps better integrated in Oracle of Ages, where your ability to warp between time is the central mechanic that expands from specific uses to at will throughout your playthrough. However, this is largely used for puzzle solving in the overworld, mainly for uncovering the entrances to dungeons. Like the Spirit Temple, the Mermaid's Cave in Oracle of Ages is the only dungeon that is completed in both the past and present. I'd also fit Oracle of Seasons here, as seasons are just cyclical measures of time that Link can shuffle through in much the same way he hops from past to present in Oracle of Ages. Similarly, this ability is used to navigate through the overworld and access dungeons, with the rod itself having little use within them. The introduction of the Timeshift Stones in Skyward Sword allowed for the simultaneous blending of past and present within a given area of influence. Found exclusively in the Lanayru Desert and its associated dungeons, the extreme juxtaposition of an ancient ocean of technologically sophisticated robots and a decrepit sea of sand and ruin makes the puzzle split between time incredibly inventive. Highlights of Skyward Sword, surely, but also of the series as a whole. Majora's Mask has the best integration of a time mechanic, the rewinding and replaying of the same 3 days over and over, intimately connecting us to the clockwork lives of the people of Termina. The immediacy of this time is reinforced by the on-screen clock, hourly tolling of the bell, and the harrowing face of the slowly falling moon. This game also does justice to the namesake of the ocarina, using it for actual time-related purposes, not just returning Link to the beginning of the cycle, but also either skipping ahead in time or slowing time down. And lastly, Tears of the Kingdom introduced Recall, an ability used largely for changing the rotation of large gears. Another reason for this reliance on time travel is that it's now baked deeply into the Zelda mythos, thanks again to Ocarina of Time. As the goddess responsible for establishing the physical and metaphysical laws of space-time, Nayru, the goddess of wisdom, appears in several games as an entity closely associated with Zelda, for these wisdom and time-related reasons. Nayru is also the namesake of the Lanayru province, home of the Timeshift Stones. As an oracle, she possesses the Harp of Ages and is able to control the flow of time. She is further associated with the color blue, a color which denotes special items like the Ocarina of Time, the Time Blocks, the Time Shift Stones, the hilt of the Master Sword, as well as water, where we can make the obvious metaphorical connection to the flow of time. These and other items and places have specific time-manipulating powers. The aforementioned Ocarina, which sends Link back in time, among other time-altering abilities, the Rod of Seasons and Harp of Ages, whose powers I discussed above, the Master Sword, which reverts adult Link to young Link and vice versa when placed in its pedestal, and which also keeps Hyrule locked in stillness while trapped under the Great Sea, the Phantom Spheres, which temporarily freeze time, the Sand of Hours and Phantom Hourglass, whose time-related properties tie directly to Link's life force, the Secret Stones, which amplify Zelda and Sonia's power over time, and the Temple of Time, specifically in Twilight Princess, which is accessed through a portal in time. Fun fact, some of Nadra's bits, the dragon associated with Nayru, enhance cooked food by making it last longer. Time buff! Now all of this is well and good, except for the nosedive this affinity for time travel takes in the narrative department. Plot-related time travel in the Zelda franchise is most tactfully described as convoluted or inconsistent, and most honestly described as a complete fucking mess. A lesser issue is the inconsistencies between games, because the timeline doesn't matter.
You're garbage.
But each game does selectively pick a variety of conflicting fruits from the branch of the time travel tree. Ocarina of Time is the granddaddy of them all. There's the aforementioned bootstrap paradox with the man in the windmill in the Song of Storms, a predestination paradox at the end of the game where Link is sent back into the past to prevent Ganondorf's rise to power. He creates causal loops by going back to the past to plant beans that then grow in the future even if he never originally planted them in the past. And when the Sacred Realm is opened and Ganondorf splits the Triforce, whenever Link travels back in time, he apparently takes his slice of the Triforce with him? So there's a slice of the Triforce and a whole Triforce in the past? And that doesn't even touch on the fact that time itself is split by Link's time travel shenanigans. But we aren't going to go there because the timeline doesn't matter. Oracle of Ages falls into many of these same paradoxes as well. Majora's Mask, much like the rest of the game, is self-contained, and Link rewinds the world to replay the same 3 days, although the Ocarina, the method for doing this, has straight up different powers even though it's the same Ocarina. Skyward Sword pulls an ocarina and takes place in the past and present, where some events are shown to have always and will always happen, even from the beginning, while others, like growing this fruit, don't exist across times for reasons unknown and unexplained. Then there's Tears of the Kingdom. On its own, it's fine. As the sequel to Breath of the Wild, the time travel shenanigans get squirrely. If Zelda goes back thousands of years, does that mean that during the Calamity, she is a dragon and a nerdy princess? If she has the Master Sword, but Link pulls it from the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild, are there 2 Master Swords? Are there 2 of the same secret stones? Are there 2 Zeldas? And this is just between these 2 allegedly connected games, not to mention the entirety of the series. But we're not even gonna go there because the timeline doesn't matter. Nintendo has hung their hat on the time travel trope because it allows them to create interesting in-game interactions, and as a result, for better or worse, it has become ingrained within certain elements across the series. But the over-reliance on this storytelling method has led to a lot of confusion and shoehorning, mostly between those intrepid minds determined to connect all of these games together. In a final paradox, I'll salute you for your unwavering passion in this endeavor, while continuing to maintain that the timeline, say it with me now, doesn't matter!